Quite a turnaround for 24 hours. Yesterday he did not have, but he watched the tape, so.
And I'm not riding for Aaron Rodgers, all right? I picked him. He's let me down. I picked him to win the division. He let me down. He's obviously not the same quarterback he used to be. And you guys know when everybody was saying the reason he doesn't have another Super Bowl appearance, it was the defense. And I was saying, nah, he doesn't show up in the NFC Championship games. So I'm not caping for him. But the talk about benching Aaron Rodgers, to me, is absolutely ridiculous. Wow. And I honestly don't think it would even be, I don't even think they'd be getting asked these questions if it wasn't New York. And I was a part of the New York media, and this is what happens in New York. Bench Aaron Rodgers for what?
He threw for 180 yards, 3-9.
So Tyrod Taylor's going, the season's over. I don't care who you put in, the season is over. They have waited 2 years for this, and it's been disappointing. But why in the world would you bench him?
Because he's terrible.
Fine.
And why not?
The team is terrible. Jeff Ulbrich, this is what he should have said.
Why did the Giants bench Daniel Jones?
Because he ain't Aaron Rodgers. Honestly, Jeff Ulbrich should have said, we are not benching Aaron freaking Rodgers. He's a future Hall of Famer. He's still our best quarterback, and he gives us the best chance to win.
Rodgers,
what are we talking about?
Rodgers like, eh?
He probably knows he don't have the standing right now because he's playing so poorly to flex. But why? I get it if they were in the play. Well, they wouldn't be thinking about benching him if they're in the playoff race. But I get it if you had a hot young Michael Penix. We drafted this quarterback of our future. Aaron's not doing anything. We're done. Let's get him in there. Tyrod Taylor's not your future. Just let this play out. I don't care if you lose every game and then release Aaron Rodgers at the end of the season and move on. I am baffled by the notion of benching Aaron Rodgers. For what?
I'm not baffled at all. Like, you better be considering benching Aaron Rodgers, especially if you're Ulbrich, because you are an interim head coach. You are in this league. You have to be willing to do things that are go against the grain sometimes. And if he were to bench Aaron Rodgers, had he benched Aaron Rodgers, and they go on any type of run, and it kind of saved their season, you know what we would be looking at? Man, that was a great decision. He might know what he's doing. He might actually be able to be their head coach moving forward. But because he didn't make that decision, and because he's not going to make that decision, you're just going to tell your team, look, man, he gives us the best chance to win. We're 3-9. We got a chance to win.
I don't think he does give him the best chance.
Neither do I.
Brew,
it's Tyrod Taylor.
Brew, it's Aaron Rodgers at 41 who's terrible. Terrible. They
lost them that game.
Yes,
no doubt.
And how many games?
He did cost them that game.
They've had 5 times ball in his hand chance to win. Denver, we can put it on the field goal kicker, could have gotten closer. Minnesota throws a pick. Buffalo, he throws a pick. The Colts, he took a horrific sack back-to-back. Seattle, I don't even know, it was last week. It was really the pick six call, but they still had a chance at the end. Throws it away. Like, what are we talking about? And
tell me when a quarterback of his stature has been disrespected to the point where they were benching him. And I get Peyton was benched, Peyton Manning, but they were competing for a Super Bowl. So this season's over.
It
doesn't matter if you win the rest of the games or if you lose the rest.
You're the captain of the other players at practice, see guys play. You
think Tyrod's looking better than Aaron in practice?
Yes.
Now, here's my one caveat where if the other players essentially hate him or are tired of him and his act, then I'm with you.
Well, how could
but I don't know that that's until I know if that's the case. But you know what I mean? Like they're sick of this. This dude is. If that's the case, of course, and just cut him. But I don't know that that's the case.
One quick prediction.
Yeah.
I think Aaron Rodgers. I know he was not on the injury report this week. I think he's going to show back up on it, and I don't think Aaron Rodgers is playing every game this year.
You almost said something. When you listen to Aaron Rodgers, when he was asked about being benched, his response, he didn't seem too confident that he was certain he was going to be the starter moving forward.
Yeah.
Like that's
because he doesn't know. He doesn't control.
Why wouldn't he know? He's Aaron freaking Rodgers.
It seemed like a sincere apology, but this guy's also a headhunter. Like both are true. Like this is how he plays. And I think that's why they signed him. I think they knew that. I think they were okay with it. He's gone after a lot of guys in borderline dirty spots, but To me, the more interesting thing is this. The quarterback slide involves a very delicate, what I will call almost a social contract, because you are making yourself more vulnerable than any other move you can do on the football field because it's understood no one's going to hit me. If this exists, then quarterbacks simply should never slide. Because if he were doing anything else, he wouldn't have been that vulnerable.
Right.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? So it's very delicate. And so I say this. This is going to be a suspension, and I don't think it's just going to be one game. Now, I'm nervous it's going to be 2 games, and then he's the next game back, he's playing Kansas City, and he's already taken out Caleb, taken out Trevor, just checking off quarterbacks, and he's going to have a 2-game suspension. But you can't have it. And I didn't think this was that bang-bang. I didn't. It was very clear he was sliding, and I think Al-Shaair was doing, what he has done throughout the year. I don't think he's a bad guy. I think this is how he plays football, and it's dangerous.
And he also tried to take out Tony Pollard on the sideline too. And that's where I feel for defenders, because I do think it's tough to, when the quarterback slide. But I think it's tough, Greg, for defensive players now.
So I think it is tough for defensive players, but since they've implemented the rule changes, we've seen so many in protecting of the quarterback. We've seen so many players adjust and be able to make that bang-bang adjustment. And I think that's the hard part. And I'm not going to sit here and act like it wasn't bang-bang, because I've been on that field.
I was gonna
and when you replay it and you watch it on film, you look like, man, it looks like I could have had more time. But in the moment, that is not how it is. It is never how it looks when we get to watch it over and over and over again when you are the one actually performing that act. It is truly bang, bang. And so, but because he knows that the thought process of the quarterback, you're expecting him to lean towards that in that bang, bang moment, and he just didn't. Like, I love the apology. I accept the apology. I thought it was great for him. I thought D'Amico Ryans did a great job in his post game in explaining that's not what we coach. He has to be better in that. That's not who he is as a player. And then for him to come out and apologize and then even talk about the conversation that he had with Trevor Lawrence before the game.
I buy all that. I think on the field it's kind of he plays.
He said that. I
Yeah.
play one way,
Yeah.
and you have to be that way. So I respect that too.
The last thing, NFL should make an in-season adjustment that is a live ball foul, and everything after is a dead ball foul.
Oh,
and by that I
offsetting.
mean that's a 15 yards. Then if after there is some street justice and you want to say, okay, both teams had offsetting dead ball fouls, so those wipe each other away.
Yep,
that
makes
15
sense.
counts.
Correct.
Because the
I
fact
agree
that
with
0
that.
yards were added to the play because of that, you can fix that immediately. One's live ball, the other's dead ball, and call it different.
But I'm with you. I do think he gets a hefty fine and suspension because you have to make a statement if you're the league.
Most points in losses. There's Joe Burrow, number 1. Now, the good news is, Greg, your Packers there won the Super Bowl the next year. So actually, maybe this is a glass half full graphic for Joe Burrow. How much of Cincy's 4-8 season is on Joe?
Very little, but not none, is what I will say. So listen, his numbers. I mean, he's having statistically the best season of his career. Now, Burrow has been held up in that Mahomes class previously. I have seen Patrick Mahomes with a defense worse than this one. They went 12-4 and lost in the AFC title game in overtime to Tom Brady. So the idea that it's impossible to win with a defense this bad is just not true. So, and the first Ravens loss, he did throw a pick right before Lamar had the fumble when they could have, you know what I mean? This game, that I understand it was a tipped ball pick who's behind him. So he is, if I were listing culprits, I list 5 names before I get to Joe Burrow, but he's the highest paid best player on the team, and so heavy is the head that wears the crown. I know you were making the argument earlier in the year, I think, that if they miss the playoffs, it knocks him out of that top quarterback echelon. I disagree with that because I saw Drew Brees miss playoffs.
Yeah.
I
think I want to amend that take. He's playing so outrageously well that I think it can stay in.
Okay, good.
But it's over. I wasn't expecting him to be like
35
MVP
points in the
numbers
losses.
and be 4-8.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Nick. He's not blameless. Like, I don't want to hear, oh, it's nothing on Joe Burrow. And my point is this. The slow starts are a consistent problem for him. All right, in his first 3 weeks of his career, so 5 years, the first 3 weeks, I think he's 3-11-1. All right, so why week 1 did you only score 10 points against the Patriots? You threw for less than 200 yards and no touchdowns against the Patriots. That sets the tone because you had Kansas City, and then was it Baltimore the next week? They had Kansas City, and then they lost, I think, Washington.
Yep.
So they lost. The next 2 games were tough. You beat New England in game 1. You're not in this situation. So that's where I put the blame on. Whatever is going on in the preseason, where they get off to these slow starts, he's the quarterback. He sets the tone. I think he's got to be better in that regard.
Do you think that cost Zach Taylor his job?
Possibly. And that's where I would go with the slow starts. I mean, that's coaching too. Like, and I put that more on coaching. And Joe Burrow, like as you guys just said, he's not blameless, but he's played. There hasn't been a game where he hasn't played good enough for them to win. Like, there hasn't been a game where he's played good. If you want to say the Patriots game, week 1, okay.
But that was also a fumble going into the end zone.
Yes,
Like in
exactly.
That,
but what game has he played poorly to where it's like,
that's why
man, Joe, man, come on. He hasn't had that. But he is the quarterback, and all those things ring true when you are the quarterback.
And it is a massive missed window for Cincy.
It is. It really is.
Last year and this year. Higgins is gone. Chase is about to get paid. You got to remake the defense. Some would almost say there was a curse of Burrowhead Stadium. They haven't been the same since then. I wouldn't say that I have too much class for that. I should say they've lost as many games the last 2 years as Mahomes lost in the last 6. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.